Globalization affects us every day, whether we realize it or not. People, ideas, money, products, data, pharmaceuticals, weapons, computers, biological viruses, greenhouse gases, and other items migrate worldwide. This isn't new. People and things have long traveled the globe. Because of the interconnected nature of the modern world, ideas, habits, trends, products, and news may spread quicker and further than at any other point in history.
Claim 1. Globalization is about the liberation and global integration of markets. The dominant kind of globalism emphasizes the market notion. It also allows a free market to flourish. The liberal concept of the self-regulating market as a normative underpinning for a future global order provided the first core assertion. Global market liberation and integration are desirable and natural occurrences that enhance individual liberty and material growth worldwide. Liberation is a process. The government reduces its restriction and regulation in an economy in exchange for greater participation by private entities, which refers to the liberation of the market from state intervention. Global integration refers to particular local markets becoming accessible to the rest of the globe. Foreign influences have an impact on a specific local business environment. How do market integration and liberation affect the economy of third world nations, given all the resources and knowledge? First, it gives more opportunity to those people who want to have a business in a free market. The consumers in the Western countries can be thankful to the producers of the third world countries because of the lowest price and healthier products. There are more possibilities that the allocation of the workers would be better and producers might be productive due to the demands. International investments obstacles would be lifted, allowing the market to be accessible to everyone. The flow of capital will be unrestrained, resulting in higher growth rates. The stock market would have a good performance because there will be more new opportunities. There will be fewer political hazards.
Claim 2. Globalization is inevitable and irreversible. At first, attempting to decongest globalization in such deterministic terms appears to be a terrible tactic for a growing thinking system that significantly borrows from neoliberalism and neoconservatism. After all, liberals and conservatives alike chastised Marxist socialism for devaluing human agency and dismissing individuality throughout the 20th century. So how can one explain globalism's acceptance of an ideologically contradictory concept? First, as Michael Frieden points out, philosophical contradictions and semantic tensions are inherently logical and cultural restrictions that will inevitably intrude into every political belief system.
Second, the conflict between determinism and conservative ideology may be less than the first. After all, conservatism's core assumptions include extra-human, natural origins of social order and the corresponding concept of organic change that occurs independently of humans. Third, there is a political purpose for globalism's inclusion of a fundamentally illiberal ideology among its principles. Regardless of how the leaders of German social democracy felt about the purported inevitability of socialism in the early 20th century, they all recognized the idea's enormous political power.
Claim 3. No one is in charge of globalization. Globalization should not include the goal of any particular class or group. An example is that globalists are not dictating their agenda to the people. The reason why there's nobody in charge is that most countries are possessive of their economy. According to Robert Hormats, Vice Chairman of Goldman Sachs International, the great beauty of globalization is that no one is in control. The third technique of decongesting globalization is the liberal idea of the self-regulating market.
The conceptual relationship between globalization market and the neighboring concept of leaderlessness is straightforward. If the market's undisturbed workings genuinely foretell a definite course of history, then globalization does not represent the arbitrary agenda of a particular social class or group. We all want to think that someone is in control and accountable, thus no one is in charge. However, today's global marketplace is an electronic herd of mostly anonymous stock, bond, currency traders, and transnational investors linked by screens and networks.
Claim 4. Globalization benefits everyone. Claim 4 is another daring example of integrating seemingly conflicting philosophies under the master notion of globalization. Economic growth is a product of globalization. It also provides stations with quick information diffusion, technical innovation, and the expansion of specialized occupations. This decontestation cycle is crucial to globalism since it affirmatively answers if globalization is a positive phenomenon. Economic growth and prosperity were regularly used to describe the benefits to everyone.
Globalization offers tremendous prospects for the future, not only for our countries but for everyone. Among its many advantages are, first, unprecedented expansion of investment and trade. Second, the opening up of the world's most populous regions to international trade and opportunities for more developing countries to improve their living standards. Third, the increasingly rapid dissemination of information, technological innovation, and the proliferation of skilled jobs. Globalization's characteristics have resulted in a significant increase in global wealth and prosperity.
Claim 5. Globalization furthers the spread of democracy in the world. The fifth decontestation chain connects the concept of globalization and market to the related notion of democracy, which is significant in liberalism, conservatism, and socialism. Globalists often oppose democracy because of its connection to the market and economic decision-making. Globalists treat freedom, free markets, free trade, and democracy as synonym terms.
Francis Fukuyama claims a clear link between economic progress and democratic success. While globalization and capital growth do not always lead to the emergence of democracies, the level of economic development brought about the globalization is favorable to the formation of sophisticated civil society with a robust middle class. New enterprise growth and retail complexes in former communist nations should be considered the backbone of democracy.
Claim 6. Globalization requires a global war on terror. This final decontestation chain, like the others, attests to globalism's political responsiveness and conceptual flexibility. It blends economic globalization with military and nationalistic ideologies linked with the US-led global war on terror.
Claim 6 is thus contingent and so less relevant than the other 5. On the other hand, if the worldwide war on terror turns out to be a long and fierce conflict as the current American political leadership suggests, it will grow in importance over time. It's no surprise, therefore, that supporters of the second choice have claimed to see a frightening shift in globalism toward fascism. The difficulty with globalism's shift toward nationalism was philosophical as political. The closeness of globalization to the concept of a required global war on terror caused severe logical difficulties. First, the globalists' dependence on the state's coercive capabilities to guarantee their objective shattered both the concept of a self-regulating market and the notion of historical inevitability. Second, the aggressive vision of implementing democracy and freedom at gunpoint clashed with the popular idea of liberty as the absence of force. Third, the war on terror seemed to contradict the cosmopolitan, worldwide ethos associated with the term globalization. In short, Claim 6 is a threat to globalism's conceptual consistency.
To sum it all up, Claim 1, globalization is about the liberalization and global integration of markets. Markets are the driving factor behind global order. Globalization power is overly controlled. Taxation, crime prevention, anti-competition policies, social services, and many more, as an effect. Examples, it can allow those people who want to open a business in the free market. The private entities liberalization, P is equals to G minus R, meaning government minus restrictions and regulations equals participation of private entities. Claim 2, globalization is inevitable and irreversible. The end aim is globality. It is unavoidable. Examples, the market will assist us in reaching our goal because demand for all parts of the worldwide market of developed and emerging nations is increasing. Claim 3, nobody is in charge of globalization. If market forces decide our history's path, no social class or group can dominate the globalization agenda. Globalization should not include the goal of any particular group. Examples, globalists are not dictating their agenda to the people. The reason why there's nobody in charge is that most countries are possessive of their economy. Claim 4, globalization benefits everyone. Globalization is associated with economic growth. Many individuals have been liberated from poverty and the middle class has grown. rapid information distribution, technological innovation, and the expansion of skilled occupations. Example, businessman Steve Jobs made his fortune through trading. Trade with nations such as Libya, South Korea, Bhutan, and others is increasing. Claim 5. Globalization furthers the spread of democracy in the world. According to globalists, democracy, free market, freedom, and free commerce are all the same. Examples, we have the freedom to choose our country's leaders through voting. Human rights are a fundamental right that everyone must respect and uphold. Claim 6. Globalization requires war on terror. Terrorism stymies global trade and prosperity. Example, the 9/11 strike, which combined the possibilities of financial globalization with conventional American international policy, straightforwardly aggressive and nationalistic.
After discussing all of the assertions and considering the criteria given in establishing the status of the political belief system, we concluded, we disagree with assertion 3, that no one is accountable for globalization because someone is in control. After September 11th, globalists found it harder to maintain this assertion. While some corporate executives continued to speak to the self-regulating market, it became evident that globalization's survival, defined as market liberalization and global integration, was dependent on the U.S. political leadership, a powerful nation. Within its own international frameworks, the global company plays a considerable governance role, which we might see as a sort of global governance in and of itself. As we all know, globalization affects everyone, whether beneficial or harmful, and everyone is accountable for the changes brought by our own choices. We disagree that there is a single person in charge because we believe that each of us influences our actions and judgments, whether we accept or reject the suggested changes in our lifestyle, and our decision enable globalization, making us in charge of it. Globalization, in our opinion, is governed by the countries with the largest economies. Why? Investing in a large economy is logical. Meanwhile, they disregard low-income countries due to a lack of international economic backing. As a result, there is no involvement with globalization. Globalization has enriched the wealthy while impoverishing the poor. Rich countries are better at globalization since they are the ones who profit the most economically. Because countries with vast or massive economies can dominate others, while a large economy may contribute to globalization, it may also assist a country in developing and gaining dominance over other countries. And this indicates that the country's economy becomes stronger as it increases, in the same way as the wealthy bully the poor.